Hey, everybody. We are very excited for the next installment in our series where we partner with state guilds to take a closer look and dive into their current successes, challenges, and state level trends. So often we have a strong pulse on what's going on in our home states and even on the national level. And we hope these conversations can offer you with valuable insights into what your next door neighbors and not so nearby states are facing. Today, we're talking Massachusetts. And JP, because you are to the right of me, you get to tell everybody a little bit about yourself first.
Sure. I'm JP. I'm the co-owner and head brewer at Lost Shoe Brewing and Roasting Company in downtown Marlborough. And I also sit on the Brewers Guild board as the vice president.
JP, when did Lost Shoe open up?
So we opened up in 2019, about 9 months before the pandemic.
It's always a weird time frame to reference, but totally get it. It's probably been a few interesting years for you. Probably hard to believe you've been around about 5 years, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. May, we're celebrating 5 years. It's tough to wrap my mind around that.
Totally. Well, congrats.
Thank you.
Katie, your turn.
Hi, I'm Katie Stinchon, the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Brewers Guild. I've been in this role since 2016, believe it or not. And we're the state's trade association that exists to protect and promote all of Massachusetts craft breweries.
And Katie, you're the only one here besides myself who's not originally from Massachusetts. How did you end up there?
As college transplant per usual, born and raised in Bristol, Connecticut, and went to college at Emmanuel in Boston and never left. Because why would you leave the area? That's so amazing.
It's always fun to visit for sure. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Adam, your turn. That logo behind you looks awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We just revealed it today as part of a big rebrand. So it's like wearing a new pair of shoes. It feels great.
Well, congrats. Tell us a little bit about Castle Island.
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO at Castle Island. Started the company, 8.5 years ago now. Sometimes it feels like a week, sometimes it feels like a lifetime. But we've got 2 locations. We're headquartered in Norwood, Mass, which is about 20 minutes south of Boston. And we have another location in downtown Boston in the neighborhood of South Boston, which is my hometown. It's also where the Castle Island name comes from. So now we've finally got a great story about Castle Island being located a few miles from the actual Castle Island.
So I like castles and I like islands. Tell me a little bit more as someone not from Massachusetts, why Castle Island?
Yeah, so Castle Island used to be the first point of entry into Boston Harbor. There's a fort on the island. That was a military fort, hence Castle Island. But for me, it's this great recreational park. I take my dog for walks out there. It's not actually an island anymore. You can actually walk out to it and around it. But it's all about rest and relaxation and having a good time. And that's exactly what we live and breathe at Castle Island.
No, I love what you stand
And by the way, I should also mention I'm the president of the Mass Brewers Guild. Katie would probably be upset with me if I didn't throw
that in. And last but not least, Sarah, you're up.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm with Jack's Abbey Brewing. I'm the director of people operations here. Might be better, more colloquially known as HR. Today is about my 102nd day at the organization. I was previously with another brewery in Massachusetts called Medusa Brewing Company in Hudson, Massachusetts. And I also serve on the board of directors in the Massachusetts Brewers Guild.
Are you really keeping track of the days?
I only am laughing about that because I just had my 90-day review. And so it has become an unofficial tally in my head. Yeah.
JP mentioned he's about to hit his 5-year anniversary, and that's something we celebrate. Normally when I'm thinking counting down, it's like, I'll have 5 more days left, not versus I've been around 102. But congrats.
Yeah. It's a fun mark. I found it celebratory. I celebrated on my 100th day. So.
So for everybody here, being on the guild is a volunteer position, and all of you work in breweries already. So I know how busy you are, how many hats you wear. I imagine some of you have families. Why did you choose to serve, and why is it important to you? And at this point, anybody can just jump on in.
I'll go. Aside from the fact that I hate free time and I love filling it with stuff, this is an industry that, I care deeply about. I think pretty much everyone in this industry cares about it. So I don't think that that's unique to me. But for me, I wanted to give back to the community that frankly helped us get up and running and helped me make my vision, my dream a reality. And that means protecting and promoting craft beer in the state. It means serving as a resource for our industry colleagues. It means finding ways to tell consumers about what we're doing. And I just think that the mission of the Guild is great, and it's something that, we directly benefit from, but more than that, it just helps build the industry that I care so much about.
JP and Sarah?
Yeah.
I know for me, sorry, JP, I'll just take a quick second. I mostly, as somebody who had passively been in the brewing industry as like a beer tender or doing some operations, was really looking for an opportunity to also just like break into the larger network. I knew that the Guild had been doing a lot of fun projects, especially with different like events and festivals, and also started seeing them more in the news as they got involved in legislative issues within our state as well. And that felt like a community that I really wanted to be more involved in, especially when you are a minority female in the brewing industry. Sometimes it's hard to find some common points of connection, or to figure out if you want to grow in this industry, who do you talk to and what do you do? And joining the Guild was honestly such an invaluable resource in that way. The community is amazing. I love meeting with this crew. Our board is so fun, and we get to talk about some really important stuff that impacts a lot of people. And to me, there's like, it's a privilege to serve on this board and to, volunteer my time to hopefully make our community even better. And it's been a great resource for me too, selfishly. So.
I love it. And how many days have you been with the Guild?
Approximately. Well played, touche.
Okay, JP, how about you?
Yeah, for me, similar to Adam in that the Guild was instrumental in us not only opening, but like surviving through all the challenges that we were all facing as an industry throughout COVID and the pandemic. And when there was an opportunity to help or to run for a board seat, I jumped at it just because I wanted to give back and be a part of helping other breweries kind of succeed and do well.
So JP, today's Super Tuesday. I'm not sure when a lot of people are watching. You mentioned like ran for a brew seat, for Guild seat. Did you have to campaign for the position, or what was that like?
Yeah, it's mostly just getting up in front of a small group of other breweries at one of our meetings, and kind of just saying why we want to run, what we're looking to kind of provide from our own personal experiences, so that we can help kind of move things forward and better the industry as a whole.
Love it. Now, Katie, I've got a two-parter for you. You've been with the Guild for quite some time now. So I'm first interested in how you ended up in your position. And second, tell us a little bit more about some of the Guild's goals.
Sure. And I want to just double back real quick and talk about how incredible my board is and has been since I stepped into this role. And I really think that an activated and passionate, supportive board is the key to my success. It's the key to the effectiveness of the association itself. So I've been so incredibly lucky. So thank you all, and to the others that aren't on the call, and to those that have come before us. They've been rock stars, and I'm so grateful. So for me, I won the lottery, I feel like, being hired into this role. In my previous life, I worked at a PR firm that specialized in nonprofits, socially responsible companies. But then on the weekends, I was beer blogging, and I was touring breweries, and I was waiting for breweries to get large enough to hire an internal communications person like myself. But it still wasn't, breweries weren't that big yet. Breweries didn't have those comms teams yet. So when I saw this position posted, I jumped at the opportunity to apply. I think I was, one of 300 applicants for the role. And thankfully, Rob Burns over at Night Shift saw something in me and brought me on. And here I am, still going, headed towards 8 years strong. And it's been a wild ride. When I started, there were 120 breweries in the Commonwealth, and now we're well over 230. So, no signs of slowing down, that's for sure.
That growth is awesome, and I'm sure we're going to dive into it a little bit more. Now, I'd just like to learn a little bit more about Massachusetts as a whole. You know, it's been about a decade since I've been up that way. My brother went to school at Berkeley. I have a really fond memory of, getting sangria and a pizza in a basement somewhere and just wandering around in the snow, and it was awesome. I think we ended up at the Sam Adams tap room somewhere where I remember they poured us like a cherry Hefeweizen, had us close our eyes, plug our noses, and try it. Then you realize you're drinking cherry. It was just a fun little taste experiment there. But anyways, what's Massachusetts known for? What are you most proud of about your state? When people think Mass, what do you think?
I think a lot of people would first kind of regard Massachusetts as being the state that sort of took hazy IPA and made it explode, right? New England IPA is this massive style across the country, and that's great. But I don't want to talk about that. I think what Massachusetts really needs to be known for, I think the best thing that we've got going for us in the state is the quality of beer that's coming out of the breweries today. There's a lot of great beer around the country, but compared to where Massachusetts was 10, 15 years ago, the quality is just absolutely taken these massive leaps. And it helps for us to have companies like Harpoon and Sam Adams and Allagash to the north, Brooklyn down in New York, because they create little feeder programs for all of these smaller breweries to either open up or hire the staff. And there are a lot of people who've gotten into beer over the last bunch of years that really are totally green. They don't know anything about brewing. So for us to have access to these kind of stalwarts, these giants, and sort of bring over some of that institutional knowledge is helping elevate the quality of beer in Massachusetts. I think that's what Mass needs to be known for.
That's great.
I think we also have a really strong collaborative industry. We have a really strong beer community. We have Mass Beer Week going on right now, and the amount of collaborations that I'm seeing coming out, the amount of localized like beer passports with breweries working together to kind of get everyone to come out and to support everyone. I think that's it's great. It's awesome to see. It's as somebody who's on the board, it's nice to see people working together instead of working against each other. And I think Mass has a really strong community.
I think it's really interesting because I'm actually from the Midwest originally. I'm from Missouri. So coming out but I have been in New England for at least like 15 years now. But, I would agree with JP. I think when I think Massachusetts beer community, that's literally the first thing I think of, just on the fact that we are in a smaller state. So that's one thing I already think of, is just from like a geographical point of view. We're all within a tops 2 hours from each other, which is pretty accessible. And so as a result, that's part of the reason I love this community so much, is there's a lot of, like JP said, there's a lot of opportunities for collaboration and just thinking through issues together and problem solving together, and everyone kind of having this collaborative mindset that we've really left so much room for all these new smaller breweries to pop up again and again every year. And then the fact that growth is still encouraged is, I think, just really fun to be part of. So I would definitely agree with that for sure.
Good feedback.
Yeah, the borrow the cup of sugar mentality certainly happens. As I served as central command for a lot of questions from our brewing community, it's great to be like, oh, so-and-so went through that. Let me connect you with that person. Or, oh, you need can lids. They put it on our Facebook group and someone's like, I got you. Just get me back when your shipment comes in. It's, the only industry, I think, where everyone is, despite all being in competition with one another and they're all fighting for shelf space and tap lines, no one wants to see anyone else go under. So anybody and everybody is happy to pitch in and help out where they can, which is really cool and unique to our industry.
So CBP is a community, but Katie, I love how you have simply a Facebook group for your, brewers to connect, because it's so important to have that just quick and easy access to everybody so we can all learn and grow stronger together.
Absolutely.
Now, Jack's Abbey opened 2011, Castle Island in 2015. Katie, you've been with the Guild nearly 8 years. What about the Massachusetts beer landscape stands out to the most of you all when comparing where we are now versus, say, a decade ago when you first got to the industry?
Oh,
I know a lot, but I'm very curious of all your insights.
I'm gonna spin the question and go back 11 years instead of a decade,
Okay,
because
that's fair.
something really important happened in 2013, and that's when legislation was passed that allowed for tap rooms to open in Massachusetts. Before that, if you were a farmer brewery, which is the classification that pretty much most of the breweries in the state are, you could have people in your brewery for sampling, and they could buy beer to go, but they couldn't sit there and have a pint. Only brew pubs were allowed that designation. And so the ability for breweries to start serving beer for on-site consumption in their tap rooms provided this pretty explosive rocket for the number of breweries to open up, for the size of breweries to grow. It put, marketing centers in everyone's breweries and really changed the landscape in ways that I don't think today's modern consumer knows about or appreciates.
That's exactly what I was looking to learn about, Adam. I was very curious kind of when you saw craft take off, and you just answered that question. Awesome. Does anybody else have any, unique observations from your time in the industry of what's changed when you first got in versus now?
I think what's great for me is versus then versus now, it's incredibly, craft beer as a whole is just more accessible. I think from like a literal tangibility aspect, just because it's much more available, you don't have to do the whole like drive an hour to wait in line for 45 minutes to get the newest thing off the tank, because there's so much great beer fairly readily available to anyone. But also, even with the rise of tap rooms, I think like essentially when tap rooms first started, it might have started as kind of this like niche community of like, home brewers or beer geeks that were just wanted to talk about all the different like components of this brew process. But now it's a community space, right? Breweries are commonly known as like a cultural hub within a community. In Massachusetts, even you see a lot of small towns like encouraging breweries to come and open to kind of revitalize this sense of pride in their town or their geographical space or their community. So I think that's really kind of a wonderful thing to see that happen. I think craft beer is no longer this like just for beer geeks who might look a certain way or talk a certain way and definitely have a beard and a flannel. And now, it's kind of everyone's space, and everyone belongs to, deserves to be there. And I think that's really, really great.
Yeah, building off of what Sarah just said, it's the number of experiences that are being offered in breweries. It isn't just, a brewery tour and a sample. There's a run club, there's trivia night, there's paint night. You can build a bonsai plant. Like they're building all of these community-focused experiences to give you added reasons to kind of get out of the house and meet your neighbors. And so many of our breweries don't have TVs for a reason, because they want to be that reconnecting hub for your neighborhood. So that's something that I've definitely seen shift since I've been in the industry.
Katie, taking off your executive director hat and just putting on just your going to a brewery hat, what of those experiences do you look for? Do you have like a favorite you always just rush to?
I don't have a favorite because they're all my babies.
I didn't say favorite brewery. Let's say favorite activity, brewery activity.
I just love that every brewery is so different and unique. Like you can go to LaShu and curl up on their leather couch and enjoy a yummy pint and sit by, the little fire that they have going there. Or you can head over to Jack's Abbey and have a tremendous, brick oven pizza along with your cold lager, or head over to Castle Island and enjoy kind of the city atmosphere. So it's all, every experience is different, and it's designed that way to kind of reflect who that brewery is and what they want to be. And they are showcasing their beer exactly the way that they intended in the glass that they wanted. And so it's a really cool experience just to try on the different personalities and brands of all the breweries that are reflective in our state.
Definitely. Now, we caught you during a really busy time, so I appreciate you all joining today, but it's Mass Beer Week right now.
Yay!
Talk to us a little bit about what goes on about Mass Beer Week and why you are so excited.
Yeah, so Mass Beer Week is our statewide celebration of all things Mass-made beer. And this year, I'm super psyched about all the activation that I'm seeing from all the breweries. So every year, Well, this is the second year that we've done an art contest to have a local artist design our limited edition commemorative glassware. And shame on me for not having one on my desk. JP for the win!
Gold star.
So this glass was designed by Zach Manza, who's actually an employee at Shoveltown, one of our member breweries. So he is the winner of our contest this year. So we have glassware, we have T-shirts as well. I did wear the tee. So many of our breweries signed up to stock the glassware in their breweries. For JP over in Lost Shoe, they have a whole passport program where you can visit a certain amount of breweries and then you get the glasses as your prize. Others are just selling them for $6. T-shirts are on sale everywhere. So the idea is get people off the couch and out to your local brewery. March is typically a slow period for our breweries. It's that before getting out of hibernation, shaking off the winter willies and getting out there. So we really hope that our breweries are, hosting collabs, releasing cool beers, doing beer pairing dinners, and finding ways to activate our brewing community and get them out and about to get ready for more summer traveling and drinking awesome liquor.
When did Mass Beer Week start up?
So it was actually our friends at Beer Advocate had started it before my time and then passed the baton to me in 2017 after taking on my role as ED. So we've been running it ever since. We work really closely with our friends at the Mass Brew Bros. We could not do this without Bob Kelly, so I need to give him a shout out. That man goes everywhere. His mileage at the end of this week must be insane. But he does a great job just helping to pump everybody up and put on the Cape Cod Beer Fest for us this year. And it's just community.
For everyone else, what type of events this week are you hosting or being part of that are helping, attract consumers to your breweries or, wherever the event may be?
So we're doing the passport program. We have us and 5 other breweries that are between Marlborough and Hudson that are on this passport. So it's us, Flying Dreams, Tackle Box in Marlborough. And then in Hudson, we have Wild Hare, Medusa, and Clover Road. So if you get a stamp at each spot, you get a glass. We already ran through the passports that we had at our tap room. Yeah. So we have to now coordinate with one of the other breweries to grab some passports and exchange some glasses.
How many passports was that, JP? Do you know the number? How many ran?
We printed 50.
Okay.
It was 200 total, I think. The math might not math there. But we split. It might have been 300, and we put 50 at each spot. But either way, we ran out. And then on top of that, we're doing a beer and cheese pairing tomorrow night. We kicked off Saturday with a food truck. So lots of just little things on top of our weekly trivia and run club.
And I know there's a Worcester passport, a Central Mass passport. There's a Somerville passport. But definitely check out massbeerweek.org or head to the Mass Beer Week Facebook page once Meta works again, which I hear is down. Not great for our week to be down right now, but come on, Zuckerberg. Yes, and all of our events should be loaded there, and more are coming in every day. So, feel free to hit the refresh button and check out what's happening in your area, or go to a different area and see what's happening someplace you haven't been.
And as all of you have mentioned, part of the guild's role is promote Massachusetts craft beer. What are some of the other strategies you've seen effective when, educating the state's residents about the value of beer brewed in Massachusetts?
Well, we really try to highlight the fact that when you are buying a locally made beer, that you are also then supporting all the employees that are within that building that are, they're likely your neighbors that are working there. It's supporting the local label company, the local designer that made that label, the cannery that came in to help you get the liquid in if you don't have one in house. It really creates a ripple effect to supporting, everyone that's involved in that business. So that's something that we really try to push out there and educate consumers on.
We're also for Mass Beer Week, and I think some of them are even running it for the entire month of March, working with a couple of the large retail chains in the area to promote Massachusetts craft beer in stores with displays, with stacks, with signage, with shelf talkers. Because there are, 230 breweries in Massachusetts, and I think most consumers probably know about the 20 or so that are within a half an hour of wherever they live or work. But there's a lot of great beer coming out of the Bay State, and this program that Katie, thank you very much for coordinating with some of our retailers to execute, is really going to help get the word out there about all the great beer that is going on in the state.
No, consumer focused. You all also have another big beer fest coming up in April. In 420, you've got a big event. Tell us more about that. Are you all going to be there, everyone?
Yeah, they're all on board. We have 40 breweries in total that will be there at the Boston Center for the Arts in Boston. So yes, 420, 2 sessions. We hope everyone comes out. If you want to sample 40 breweries under one roof, this is the opportunity to do it. They're all members of our association. They're all locally made. There will be some limited cider and seltzer. So just kind of want to caution that for our gluten-free friends, but it's a great time. All the proceeds come back to support our association so that we can do the work that we do, which is to protect and promote our members. But it's a great time. It's a great space. And then when you leave, you're right in the heart of Boston to walk around, go out to dinner, and support more local businesses that need that love too.
So looking at events like this, and Katie, you've mentioned different areas around the state. How are brewers from different parts of Massachusetts coming together? Are there regional meetups? Do you have events like this that you hope people come to, or how are people across the state connecting?
So the Mass Brewers Guild hosts 5 member meetings a year, and we move them around to the different regions of the state to make sure that we're able to reach everybody whenever we can. And then I also, kind of serve as central command too. If anybody needs any support from any part of the state, I'm reachable pretty much 24/7. So, but our member meetups are really an opportunity for networking and knowledge sharing. And we always try to build in something educational. Like recently we were at Castle Island in South Boston. We had Ralph Zaccaroni from the ABCC there. We had someone from the Department of Labor just talking about all of those compliance issues. We had the eco-friendly beer drinker in to talk about best practices on how to be more sustainable and reduce your waste. So all of that is kind of built into these 3-hour packed meetings where we also build in a lot of time for networking and beers too, because that's the most important part of any MBG meeting.
Spending time together.
Yeah. And it's a therapy session, or it's the taproom manager at one brewery meeting one at another and being like, hey, how are you managing that? Or what are you doing for this? And you get so much out of just talking with other peers in your industry.
Sarah, wearing your HR hat, do you find yourself kind of leading these conversations and making sure everybody's okay?
I always like to provide a safe space for those who need it. You did ask me to put my HR hat on. I will say, to go back to that point, I really genuinely do feel we have one of the most supportive communities out there. And like I said, and I think we've kind of mentioned through the thread of how we've been talking about the guilds, but community is, a very key focus. I think we said that word at least 20 times at this point, right? So when you have a local brewery, you're putting money back into that town. We have 4 Star Farms, which is now a farm that switched business models to supply hops to, a lot of local providers and now nationwide, which is really cool. We have local ingredients, and there's a lot of I think also just by the state, nature maybe of being in Massachusetts and maybe having more socially conscious communities around. The fact that the brewing community here is really actively providing space for that. I just think that's a really great thing. So for me, beer has always been, I think the Guild has done a great job as well of just kind of making beer like, you don't need to have this like occasion. It's always been a conversation starter. It's always been a point of connection. Beer is something that you would offer a friend, an enemy, anyone, just to kind of get something going. It creates a point of connection. And so I just think that the fact that we lean into that so hard and being part of this guild just only kind of adds to that is really great.
I love all that, Sarah. And one thing you did mention, kind of switching a little to the brewing side of things, you talked about ingredients grown in Massachusetts. For all of you here, what are some of the ingredients that you get in state that you're really excited about?
I mean, I want to just real quick give a shout to our 4-star farms, Chris and Liz and the whole crew out there. That's like that's like one thing I love to tout about Massachusetts, our brewing scene. We have our own hop farm here. They also make their own beer, so they're also a member of the guild as well, not just as a supplier, but as a manufacturer. And they do an excellent wet hop right at the peak of season. So definitely worth checking out. It's also a gorgeous space, but that's my plug for local hops for sure.
I'm gonna make JP blush for a second, because one of the other great ingredients that's not grown but is made in the state that goes awesome in beer is coffee. And JP and his wife Melinda over at Lost Shoe are making some absolutely unbelievable coffee, and we took some of that and infused it into our 8th anniversary Imperial Stout back in December. We had, I think, 4 different variants on the beer plus the base beer, and the coffee was by far my favorite and by far the biggest hit. Truly amazing ingredient. Just kind of nice to have JP on the call today so I can watch him being
so good. Good job, JP.
Thank you, Adam.
Of course, thank you.
The base beer was very fantastic as well. I think that it came out awesome.
Thank you.
Now let's mix it up. You all have said there's a lot more to Massachusetts than New England IPAs. So looking at the brewing side of things, what trends on the brewing front are you excited about right now?
More lagers.
Clean, crispy beers.
Everybody every day. Of course we are.
They're coming back, and I'm so stoked. I also happen to work at a brewery that specializes in clean. We specifically do lagers. We make some pretty excellent ones, but even my previous brewing experience, that's just always been. I like that we're going back to our roots here. We don't need to add 18 tropical fruit flavors to make a beer good anymore. But I think it's been great as an opening entryway into our community. So yeah, that's me. Super stoked.
I'm pumped for the lagers too. JP and Adam, what trends are you seeing in your tap rooms?
Yeah, I mean, we do a pretty wide variety of styles. We're seeing a lot of people gravitate towards the more sessionable stuff too. So we've got a dark mild on. It clocks in at a whopping 3.3%.
Love a good dark mild. My local brewery has one right now, 3.5 on nitro.
It's great, yeah. We're releasing a grisette as part of the Pink Boots collaboration on Friday. That's also 3.3. So more session beers.
So I'm going to take a slightly different approach. We like Lost Shoe brew styles kind of all across the range. We've got a great Czech amber lager on side pull right now. That's the number one thing I've been drinking on the tap room. It's called You're Doing Great, which is just an uplifting name for a beer that tastes perfect. But what I'm actually most excited about, I don't know if my background's going to let me do this, is what I'm drinking right now, which is hop water. So we don't play in the non-alc beer space, but we are playing in hop water now. I think I actually had my first hop water at JP's place. Probably close to a year ago now. But there you go. He's drinking his too.
Idaho 7.
Yeah, exactly. But it's for me, it's a great way to like scratch that beer itch in a time when I don't want to have a beer. Like it's 11 in the morning, right? And I would love to have a beer, but I have stuff to do. So I'm going to have a hop water instead. And I've been drinking it as like a splicer too. So I'll have a beer and then I'll have a Bubs, which is what we call our hop water. And then I'll have a beer and then I'll have a Bubs. Keeps me hydrated, but it's still enjoyable. It's not utilitarian like water, which is great in its own right. But hop water's fun. It's different. It's exciting. That's something that we're really fired up about.
Adam, as a dad, I'm a huge fan of hop water as well. It's nice to go back and forth sometimes because I can't drink as much, no matter how much I want to, as I used to.
Exactly.
So that's
Also,
great.
I feel seen here because I actually don't drink alcohol. And so sometimes people find that funny considering how involved I've been in the beer and alcohol scene in Massachusetts throughout my career. But it makes me a great employee. I don't really need to steal from you. It's not going to be an issue for you. But yeah, as somebody who actually can't consume alcohol, even then I've always found breweries to be like an exceptional space that I enjoy going to even as a non-drinker. But hop water was a game changer for me, right? Because it offered me an opportunity to enjoy something that wasn't just like whatever seltzer or soda. I didn't necessarily want the sugar. I didn't necessarily just want another form of water, right? So feeling like having the hops in there, having a flavor profile involved, knowing that flavor profile is in some of the products that are also made in that space, that's like a cool thing to be a part of. So I really enjoyed the hop water.
Sarah, we've heard people too say everything that you just said. Plus they say like, well, I don't drink alcohol, but having this, especially because we package it in 16-ounce cans, are like, I feel like I can be part of the party. When everyone else is sitting around the table having a beer, I can have a hop water and I don't feel like I don't fit in.
100%. I mean, that's when I first found out about my allergy. One of the things that I realized got me through was ordering cranberry juice on the rocks because people don't want to talk to you if you're the only sober person in the room. So as we go, as breweries are but I love that breweries are thinking about that consumer as well, right? Because we're not just trying to keep those people out of our spaces as well. Like even if you're a non-drinker, we want you to be here and enjoy this experience. And how do we do that? And we've created that product. So again, just another community collaborating, opportunity.
Sarah, nothing against everybody else on the panel today because they're great too, but you're speaking my language when it comes to like the experience, the community, why we all come together. I love it so much. And talk to all my brewery friends here in Virginia. Tell them to brew more hop water, please. Like you all are doing it up north. So switching it up for a sec, we talked brewing trends. Let's talk like more what we're seeing on the business level of things. Katie, are you still seeing a bit of openings in Massachusetts, or are you seeing mergers, acquisitions, more some contract brewing or closures? What does that landscape look like?
Yeah, so D, all of the above.
Yeah.
We're definitely seeing folks kind of merging together to pool their resources, have more buying power. We are seeing some acquisitions as well. More notably, one of our legacy brewers in the state, Wachusett Brewing Co., was just acquired by our friends up north at Smutty. So yes, we are starting to see that, but and we are hearing of some closures as well, which is so deeply heartbreaking to me because I feel like every business owner in the state that's under the association and they're friends and family to me. I know the blood, sweat, and tears that went into opening their business, and it's getting tough out there for sure. But with that, we still are seeing 15 additional breweries pending to open this year and beginning of early next. Some of those are second and third locations, but some are brand new brands as well. So we know we've kind of reached a maturation period for our industry. It's coming on the heels of a pandemic and record high inflation, which makes everything challenging. But we're, certainly we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. There's no bubble to burst. It's just a natural ebb and flow of the business cycle. And I'm sure Adam, JP, and Sarah can speak to that as well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Katie, that it really speaks less about the health of the industry and more about just where it's at in its life cycle. It's matured, and that's not a bad thing. I was talking with our friend Bob Kelly from Mass Brew Bros the other day about the fact that we're probably going to finish net neutral this year for a number of breweries, probably anticipating as many openings as closures. But 240 breweries in the state of Massachusetts is still a mind-blowing number. And we're seeing breweries get stronger as a result. As it gets a little more competitive, as it gets a little bit tougher, the beer gets better, the business practices get better, the tools get sharper because they have to be. And that's a good thing. It's an uncomfortable process, but sometimes, pressure creates diamonds, and I think that's what we're experiencing.
I think it's cool to see that people are creating. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was Because I think it's great that like you're also seeing as this kind of leveling out, if you will, is occurring, you're kind of seeing these subcultures within brewery culture forming, because people have had to diversify or change their business models or adjust the way they view beer or are trying to encourage people to view beer. You're seeing a lot of like different sub communities within our beer community forming. So I'm always a fan of creating more diversity. I think it creates more ideas and, collaboration opportunities and improvements and things like quality and manufacturing processes and all that good stuff. It just holds us better accountable. So it's definitely a tough situation because, I think forgot until COVID happened that 150% profit gains every year is like not normal. So, just learning to be a part of this new landscape, but it also comes with a lot of really cool innovation and creativity. So
legislatively, what is some of the things the Guild's currently working towards?
So we have two priorities that we've been pushing now for the past 3 sessions. Sessions here in Massachusetts are 2-year terms. We are actively pursuing brew pub self-distribution rights. So the brew pub license class is the only license in the state that can't self-distribute their products. So that means if a restaurant down the street calls them on Saturday and says, hey, we ran out of your keg, we ran out of your kegs for your tap line, they can't just run one over. They need to place that order through their wholesaler. Wholesalers don't deliver on the weekends, yada, yada, yada. They could lose that tap line or just, not be able to form that relationship or continue with that in the same way. Or if they just want to participate in an event on the weekends, they can't just carry their beer over to the common where there's a festival going on. So we just want to give them a little bit of flexibility to take care of their backyard, maybe be able to transfer products between their sister locations, and just give them a little bit of flexibility to do business. So that's something that we're working on. And then our second piece of legislation is to give our brewers the ability to sell their products at farmers markets. So right now they can show up, they can have a table, they can give away tastes, but they can't sell you a 4-pack the same way that cider can, or sell you a bottle of wine the way that wine can. So we're simply seeking parity in the industry with our fellow alcohol manufacturers, and we just want to be able to give our brewers the opportunity to make a little bit of a profit and make that sale on the spot, opposed to having them try to remember what it was that they had at the farmers market that they liked and go find it and yada yada. So we want to close that loop and allow our brewers to be able to be a little bit more profitable and have access to that market.
And don't you have a collaboration beer helping one of those efforts?
We do. So the brew pubs came together in 2 different groups to formulate an H401 brew pub beer. The petition code, QR code, is on the can as well. And also for anyone listening, if you want to help us and sign our petition, head right over to our website, massbrewersguild.org. Right on the landing page, you'll see side by side both petitions. You can click them, sign them, help us out. Let our local reps and senators know that this is important to our brewing community. It's important to these business owners, and it can really make an impact and a difference.
Awesome. No, I always love learning what's going on in other states. We talked a lot about the wins, the successes, heard a little bit about your challenges. But now as we wind down, I'd love to hear what you're most excited about moving forward. You all have been in the industry quite a bit. You could either look in the crystal ball, tell me your prediction, just tell me something in general you're really looking forward to in Massachusetts craft beer. Just kind of love to hear what's exciting you right now. Adam's thinking about his brand new rebrand. That looks great.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about something other than that. Been the focus for the last 14 months. Yeah, I mean, honestly, for us immediately, it is this rebrand, which is massive. We're talking new logo, new package design, new website, castleislandbeer.com. It's live now. Social media will be live whenever Meta gets their crap together. But it's just an absolutely monumentous undertaking for, again, almost the last year and a half. We actually did it internally too. We did not use an outside agency. Our sales team, our marketing team, and we have a phenomenally talented designer put the whole thing together. But Our brand's been around for 8.5 years, and we never really focused too much on the visual identity and really crafting that to make sure that it matches what our mission, our vision, our values are. But what we have now does that. We've shed an old skin that was great for a while, but this new skin feels a lot better. And so I selfishly think that's the thing I'm most excited about at the moment.
Love it. Anyone else want to share what they're most excited about?
I'm really excited just, I guess I want to put a positive spin on just the kind of overall cloud of the industry, I guess, which is just like we were just talking about. Things are kind of leveling out. We're kind of adjusting to this new normal. But if I were to put a positive spin on that and something to look forward to in that sense, like this is a chance for a lot of breweries to finally catch their breath for a second and take a look at what's working and what's not. The brewing community, within the last few years, we've gone through some call outs from people like the Me Too movement that happened, during 2020. And just being, if we're going to be community builders and participators, then we need to know what's going on and be a part of the issues that communities care about, right? And so I think that's something that historically craft beer maybe struggled to do maybe super well. And so I think as things have kind of toned down, people are kind of taking a look back within their organizations and themselves. Are employees feeling good about being here? Do they feel like community builders too? Like, what could we do to improve so that we can make sure to think of longevity, right? Now that we're not just talking about profit returns every year, I think craft beer should be, it deserves a long time. It's never going to go away as a product. So why don't we give it the kind of the love around it that it deserves? And I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of organizations to do that. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing that creativity I talked about before kind of being faced internally as well, and just seeing how that can improve experiences for us within the brewing community that are working in this industry. And hopefully that will create some great positive changes that reflect outward,
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for more collaboration, more innovation across all the different brewing spaces, just to increase the inclusivity and I mean, Tadam's point about hop water, seeing more of that, those types of things, more spaces for people who don't drink, or people who want to consume a little bit more in a thoughtful manner, as well as more experiences, things for people. People now are so experience focused, so they want to go out and not just, they want to do something, right? They want to experience something, and seeing more of that type of creativity across the industry, I'm excited about.
Yeah, and I'll jump in just to say that I'm seeing a groundswell of enthusiasm surrounding Mass Beer Week. All of the programming that's coming out of all of these breweries, all the pride that's coming out of these breweries for what they're putting out of their tap rooms or in a can, and to all the retail support that we had this year, certainly is showing me that people want to support and nurture their local craft brewery and make sure that they're around, because they're proud of their home, Marlboro pride of, that's my local brewery, so just helping to foster that and grow that even bigger and better and build upon it year after year is what I'm really excited about.
No, I'm excited to continue watching what you all are doing, and I need to make it back up to Massachusetts before too long.
Yes, please do. We'll make sure we get together for a beer.
I'll be driving up. We're hosting an event in Portland, Maine this June, and I think I passed through you all a little bit, so I might have to find a night to stay and explore this.
Definitely.
So one final question. So everybody watching this and listening in the future, they also work in the industry. We all have short attention spans sometimes. If they were to remember one thing about Massachusetts beer, what would you want them to know about what you've got going on? JP, you get to go first, and everybody, no repeats. Actually, let's push it up. JP, you got to go first earlier.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, Sarah.
Oh, it's me. One thing about Massachusetts beer to leave people with. I don't know. I feel like this is something that every craft beer community individually would probably say about themselves, but I'm really selfishly just proud of ours. So I'll say, if I could leave you with anything, like, we have an incredibly passionate community that wants to see craft beer grow into more than just like a one-time, one-person product. We want it to be for someone that's available, something that's available for everyone and can have a positive, community building experience around it. So that's something that I think Massachusetts is really good at, and I think that's what I would say.
Cool. Adam?
I think what needs to be celebrated is just the variety, the breadth of incredible beer that's out there in the Bay State. Because again, as I mentioned earlier on, we get kind of pigeonholed, kind of typecast as a hazy IPA or New England IPA state. And there is so much more out there, whether it's, one of the incredible lagers that Jax is brewing, or whether it's the dark mild at JP's Taproom that I just cannot stop drinking when I'm there. Like, there's some pretty incredible beer being brewed here that doesn't rhyme with hazy IPA, and people need to know about that.
What does rhyme with hazy IPA?
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be like
Lazy.
book, right?
Lazy IPA? Yeah, I don't know.
I guess I'm next. I am going to talk to the folks in the industry about joining their local trade association if they aren't a member. I would say that if you are not a member of your local Brewers Guild, why? And if it's because you feel like they're not doing enough or it's not active enough, then I implore you to get involved. You are a vital part of what shapes and drives the leadership in your state. I am so beyond grateful for my members and my board and what they give to me to be able to make our association effective and impactful. So they are humans, they are volunteers, they want to help. If you have feedback for them, give it to them. But definitely consider getting involved in your local trade association, because that is how you can make change on the legislative level, protect your business, learn from one another, and just overall improve. So that's my pitch. We have that going on here in Massachusetts, and I hope that other states can be as successful as us.
Yeah, it's so important what guilds are doing. So important. So thanks for everything you do, Katie.
Thanks.
JP, last but not least, you've had plenty of time to think about this one.
I know. Yeah. I think as a state, we're very progressive, which I think helps us out a lot. I think we're able to better the industry locally as well as we have, because of our strength in numbers and the support that we get through all of our members. So I think as a state, we're pretty progressive. We try to stay ahead of the curve as much as we can, and we have a lot of support from each other to make sure that happens. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, JP, Katie, Adam, and Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your energy and enthusiasm, just educating us about what's going on in the Massachusetts world of beer. So thanks again for being here today, and I look to forward to sharing pints someday in the future. So enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you all.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.